Hi guys, and welcome back to my messy shop. I had some requests to show a video on how to do panel lines, so it's time to do that on the tail. So I'm going to do a little short video on how to make panel lines on your model. Got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Okay, as you can see here, you're seeing a drawing of the P51A from Jerry Bates. This is a 1/32 scale drawing. And this is what we're going to work off of to do our panel lines. You're going to need a few things. You're going to need a ruler with both metric and inches on it, a notepad and something to write with, and of course the handy dandy Dave Platt calculator. So let's dig right in now and let me show you how to do this. First thing you want to do, we're going to work on the stabilizers, horizontal stabilizers. So we need to get a look at the width, the location of the lines. And what I'm going to show you here is how we do this, how we figure out where to place the lines on the stabilizer based on the drawing. So let me rearrange the camera here and we'll get started. Okay, so as you can see here, we're looking at the top view of our drawing. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the distance from the leading edge to this panel line, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually very, very simple. A lot of people get confused about this scaling thing, and once you do it once or twice, it's not too bad. So I'm going to use the ruler on the metric side because I find using millimeters is a lot easier at this size. So I basically put it right on there, and let's count how many millimeters. 1, 2, 3. I have to put my glasses on here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say 4. Let me see, get it straight. 4 and 1/2. So 4.5 millimeters. Okay. So how do we do this? How do we scale that up to the 5th scale and know how many millimeters it needs to be at 5th scale? Very, very simple. I'm going to show you a little quick tutorial here on how to do this. So let's write our value here. It's 4.5, right? And that's the value we want to work with. Okay, so to do the scale, this is a 1/32 drawing, and we want to scale up to 1/5. So what we want to do is we want to say 1/32 divided by 1/5. Or an easier notation would be 32 divided by 5. Okay? And this will work for any scale. Basically, you just go the other direction if you're going down. You flip the numbers. Okay, so 32 divided by 5. Let's get our little handy dandy Dave Platt calculator, and that comes up to 6.4. Okay, this is our scale factor. This 6.4 is what we're going to use to scale any number at 1/32 scale up to 1/5 scale. So we'll take this 4.5 and multiply that times 6.4. Okay? So we come get our calculator out and we say 4.5 times 6.4 equals 28.8. Okay? So we can just round that up to 29. And there we go. That's how many millimeters this line needs to be back from the leading edge on our model. Another thing too, you can use this also if you're scratch building, and say you've got a 1/32 drawing and you want to make it 1/5. All you would have to do is take that drawing and come up with a scale factor, and then you take the decimal point out and change it to 640. And there's your percentage for the copier to blow a 1/32 drawing up to 1/5. Just a little note there, but Anyway, I'll post a little bit more about this in the post on the site, in my thread. But basically, that's how you do it. So just to recap, we have our value 4.5. We take our scale of our drawing, 1/32, and divide it by our model size, 1/5. So 32 divided by 5 is 6.4. That's our scale factor. So we do this and we say 4.5 times 6.4 is 28.8 or 28.9. Okay, or I'm sorry, 2029. That's it. That's how you scale things. Let's move on now and let's get some tape laid down and start making some panel lines. Hi fellas, and we're back. It's time to start putting some panel lines on here. Earlier I showed you how to actually calculate where these go, and hopefully you understood that. If not, be sure and email me and I'll be happy to help you with that if I can. So let's walk around here. Our distance that we need to have this line at is 29 millimeters. So we're going to come here to the leading edge. And we're going to measure and make a mark. And then we're going to come in to near the fuselage and measure and make a mark. Then of course we're going to take our ruler and put it on the two marks. I can get them lined up here and make a very fine line that you may not be able to see. I'll make it a little darker so hopefully you can. It shows us our line. I hope you can see that. So basically now we have our line and the location of it. So we need to get our measurements for the outer panel line here, and then we'll add that. Okay, and we're back, and I measure from two spots. I measured from the even point here, which will bring us in, and then from where this line intersects. And that worked out to be 32 millimeters. So let's measure that and mark it. Find 32 on here. Then again, we take our ruler and line everything up. Which is kind of hard to do on this shape, but I think we almost got it here. Okay. And there we go, we got our line. So, what we're going to do next, as you can see, there's a line here and a line here. We're going to put down we're going to clean this off with a paper towel, just make sure that there's no lead laying around on it. And then we're going to lay down some tape. And let's talk about the tape a little bit. Let me grab it and we'll fire the camera right back up. Hey guys, and welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about the tape we're going to use. This is what's known as chart pack tape, and what it was originally used for was architects would do their drawings before the days of digital drawings. They actually used to use this line to draw out their designs, and draftsmen would do it too. Kind of a neat little product for what we use it for. You can get this in all kinds of sizes. This dispenser does not come with it normally, but let me show you what this looks like if you run across one. There's the tape in there. And basically it's sticky on one side. And what you want to do when you pull this is you don't want to pull it real hard because it is vinyl and it will stretch. So you want to be real careful when you're putting it down that you put it down correctly, okay? So we just stretch it over the line, and then I just barely tap it down with my finger. You see what I'm doing there? I'm not running my finger along the line, I'm just tapping it down. Okay, and then I pull out a little excess, cut it with a knife. Okay, now that it's tapped down, I'll slowly run my finger across it to make sure it's stuck down good. This tape, you have to be really careful with it because it will stretch and it will get out of line. And so you want to be super careful when you're using this stuff. I'm just going to remove the excess right here. And if you notice, I left some here. What I like to do is I like to pull this off while it's still wet, while the primer's still wet. And the reason I like to do that is it gets rid of the problem of having the gunky glue stuck inside your panel line. And it also tends to cause the panel line to close up just a hair, making it look a little more realistic. So let's go ahead and put this other piece down. Now if you notice, I'm laying this one, I laid the long one first so I could pull the short one up when it's time to pull these things. Okay, let's see here. See if we can get this stuck down here. This stuff sometimes doesn't stick real good, so you have to kind of work with it a little bit. It can be a little frustrating the first time you use it, but just hang in there. You'll get the hang of it. So I just tap along, and then I cut the excess off with my knife. And then on the leading edge here, since that's going to wrap around to the bottom, we pull that around, and we pull that one down. Okay, so there's our two panels. There is another piece that we could do on the stab that I would show you, but I just wanted to show you this simple way to do this. So now, what you need to think about when you're laying this down is the order you're going to pull it up in, if you choose to do this. If you don't choose to pull the tape up until after it's dry, you'll have to pull the tape up. Well, you have to sand it a little bit to get the excess down to the tape, then pull the tape up, clean out the panel line, and then maybe sand it a little more with some fine sandpaper. I like my way because I'm lazy and it's easy to do. So we've got this down. Let me grab my dust rag here. So grab my dust rag, and I'm just going to pull it along here, make sure, since I'm going to spray primer around these, make sure that there's no dust on it. Once again, I run my finger over it to make sure it's stuck down good, not using a lot of force. Then, okay, so I've got my Rattle Can primer. I just use Duplicolor. Believe it or not, it's a cheaper filler primer, but it does a great job. I also use this handy add-on that allows me to control the spray a little better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a band along this panel line and along this panel line. Be sure to shake it up really good. And then just run along the length of the tape, both directions. You want a fair amount of primer on there so you can build it up. Okay. Let me do one from the back here just to make sure we get that side good. Okay, so we've got a nice coat of primer on here. There's no running. If it's running, you're putting too much on, okay? So we're gonna let it set for just a moment. I mean, not long at all, maybe a minute or so. Just enough for it to start hardening up a bit. And if you can see around the edges here, it's already starting to do that a bit. So now all we do is, let's grab a paper towel while that's continuing to dry a bit. And we're going to start with the smaller panel line. And we're just going to pull it up slowly. Okay, and there's one. Then we're going to take this other one and slowly pull it up. And that's two. We're going to let that dry, and when we come back, we'll take a look at it, see how it looks, and see if we need to do anything else to it. A couple of more quick things to note too. I'll give you a source in the notes and in my thread of where to get panel line tape. Also, one other thing to note, I use Model Masters to paint my models. I don't use a thicker paint. Model Masters covers in basically 2 thin coats, so I don't have to make my panel line super deep. Okay, if you're using something like automobile paint or epoxy paint, you may want to double the amount of primer you spray on these lines. So what you want to do is spray it like I did, let it sit to about now, and then spray it again, and then you can pull the tape up. And that should make the line about twice as deep. But this is more than enough for the paint I'm going to use, and that's something you have to take into consideration. We're going to let this dry, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you some close-ups of it before we do anything to it. But that's basically it, guys. That's how you do it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. We'll be back shortly. Okay, real quick, I wanted to show you guys the finished product. There's the panel lines. You can see they're nice and grooved in the primer. You can see where I fixed my screw up too. I had brought my tape all the way out for some reason. I guess I was so busy focusing on the video I didn't really watch what I was doing, but it was easy enough to fix. After it dried, I just simply took some 320 and worked over this area right here, and it's gone. So that's another advantage of this method. Okay, that's going to wrap it up. If you have any questions about this, don't hesitate to ask. I hope you found this video is somewhat helpful. This is how I do it. It works for me, so there you go. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And I think I'll try and do one with rivets also in the future, so we can kind of follow up with this and see where it goes next. But that's about it, so thanks for watching, and until next time, remember to measure twice and cut once. See ya.